Welcome back to Propology 101, and today we're going to be talking about the Electro Binoculars. The Electro Binoculars from The Empire Strikes Back. Now, these are mine. I bought these about 15 years ago, and it's a pretty decent kit. It's not 100% accurate, but it's really good. The Electro Binoculars from Empire Strikes Back. They're first seen in the hands of Luke when he goes to check out the crashed probe droid or meteorite, or what he thought it was. The Electro Binoculars are based on the Simrad LP7 laser rangefinder. This was a pretty much military-only piece of equipment back then. These were very, very expensive, and only the military had them, and they were made for the military. Now, I don't believe they used or had access to a real or a complete LP7. I believe my best guess is, since there's no parts of the LP7 except for the shell, all the switches, the covers, all the lenses, all the electronics, everything is missing. None of those pieces are used. Matter of fact, the battery cover is a really cool looking piece, and if you're making a sci-fi prop, I would have left that there because it was just cool looking. I believe they got a hold of a shell or a case of an LP7, and that's what they used. Now, I don't know if these are castings or if they actually are LP7 cases. If they are castings, they were very well done because I can't see mold lines or any mistakes, air bubbles, anything. I can't see anything. But what I can tell you is there should be a screw right here, a screw hole, and there is no screw hole on these. So that's the only thing that leads me to believe these were castings, but I can't tell you that. And also, we don't know how many they made for Empire Strikes Back. We can guarantee there were two. And from here on out, we're going to refer to those two as the dirty one and the clean one. They're virtually identical. One ends up missing a part later on in life, and one Greblie seems to be the only real difference between them. On the optics, none of the LP7 optics are on here, but what it does have on the front lens is what they used a welding face shield. Now, this is common. This is something they would have had laying around because they make stormtrooper lenses out of this. Boba Fett's visor was made out of this, so it just makes sense that that's what they used, and this would have been a green tinted lens. Now, the base of this is unknown. It looks very much like some sort of a PVC fitting. It just kind of screams that. It has 6 pips, and the top pip is painted red. Now, what sits over top of this, and actually what holds that welding shield lens, is what looks like an old school plastic cap for some sort of a jar, and the center's cut out. Now, if you look, there's something very interesting about this piece, that outer piece. Let's just call it the lens housing or the lens retainer. It has straight knurling on it, and the straight knurling goes up and over to the top. That's not very common. Now, on the dirty version, that piece is still there and the lens is still there. On the clean version, that piece is gone and it's just an open hole. There's no lens. Now, on the back side, it also looks like there's PVC connectors, maybe 1-inch PVC connectors. That just screams what they are. But if you look very close, there is optics in the back. We don't know where those optics come from. So it's not LP7 optics. My thought is they might be just some sort of cheap binoculars that they just pulled the eyepiece lenses out and stuck in there. Moving down to the visor. The visor is a pretty cool piece. It's definitely 100% custom made for this application. Probably what was done was they made a mold or a buck out of wood in this shape with all the clearances it needs, and then vacuum formed this piece. And one thing that leads me to that is when you look inside, and there's very few pictures where you can see up inside here, but you can see the inside of the plastic steps just like the outside. The visor is held on by 4 flathead, dome top flathead screws. They're probably about 1 inch long, maybe 1.5 inches long, and they travel through the visor and screw into the body. And we can tell tell they're flathead screws because on the dirty pair, you'll see where it's been chipped away and it's clear there's a screw there. The other ones just look like white rivets or rivets that have been painted over. And then the screw above it, you can actually see it's still nice and white, but you can barely see the flathead blade in the screw. Moving down to Greblies. On the front, we have this piece right here. It's made out of a white plastic. And if you remember, we spoke about Delrin before, especially with a lot of the Empire Strikes Back and even Return of the Jedi flash suppressors for the Model Gun Corporation DL-44s. I believe this is white Delrin that they machined this custom piece out of. And white Delrin is one of those plastics that paint doesn't like to stick to. It takes a lot of work to get paint to stick to it. It's that same plastic. You remember if you're younger, like certain types of plastic bowls and old school cups from like the 80s and 90s, they kind of had a waxy feel to them. That's kind of the way Delrin is also. Paint won't stick to that stuff. I'm pretty sure that's Delrin. On the left side, we have a Greblie that's made up of two Greblies, or two parts. Both these parts are from the Revell Visible Engine Kit. The first part is the water pump impeller, and underneath it, it's sitting on top of the harmonic balancer, and that is part 107. And the two pieces are held together and to the body of the binoculars with a Phillips head screw. Moving to the top, we don't know what these Greblies are. Matter of fact, a lot of the Greblies on this, they're just not known. No one has actually found and 100% identified these parts. But right here, this piece right here, it reminds me of a stop, like a round guide, like think of an exercise machine, the cable type with the weights riding up and down the pipes. This reminds me of a stop for something like that, where you put a limit to how far something could travel on a pipe. That's what this reminds me of. And right here, there's an opening for a screw where you would screw it down tight and make it tight on the pipe. And I think that's what that is. Now, it has been flattened on one side to fit in this area. And the Greblie on top, we don't know what it is. We don't even know if it's metal or not. I do have a picture pre-weathering. I have no pictures of the Electro Binoculars pre-paint. But I do have one when it's fresh and white, and it's obviously, actually, if I think about that picture, I think it's the clean Electro Binoculars instead of the dirty. And that's because of another Greblie we're about ready to talk about. But anyway, these two Greblies, we don't know what they are. Moving to the back, though, right here, the only difference, when we get down to the differences, the real only difference is this Greblie right here in the back. And this Greblie is filling a hole that actually is where the batteries are in the LP7. There's a cover and everything that goes here, and that cover, obviously, there's no cover on it. The clean version has what's called, what looks like a ratcheting gear. A ratcheting gear, for example, you'll see the back of a revolver is a ratcheting gear. That little area where the lever comes up and allows that turns the cylinder. Also, when you spin the cylinder on a revolver and you hear all those click, 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 clicks, that's that paw running and clicking against that ratchet gear that goes around. Also, another common place to find ratcheting gears, and though these ratcheting gears look exactly like this, except are larger, are for motorcycle kickstands or kickstarts. There's also like a little Greblie stuck in the middle, like a round post, like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch post, and fitting around it are these little pieces sticking out. These are actually push rods from the Revell engine kit number 40, but see, this is only on the clean pair Electro Binoculars. The dirty pair has what everyone pretty much has been saying for a long time, and or pretty much is almost written in stone at this point, that is a vacuum tube base, or the plug end of a vacuum tube. I tend to agree that's probably what it is, but through my research, I could never find a vacuum tube that actually matched this. But what I did find was something that matched a lot of the details a little bit better, and that is called a photo multiplier tube diode. And actually, the reason why I found it is because I was researching photo multiplier tubes to find a Greblie for another prop I was researching, and I realized, holy cow, where the base these pin in match better than the vacuum tubes. I'll actually provide pictures, and you guys guys can look at it yourselves and tell me what you think, if you think it's a photo multiplier or a vacuum tube. But anyway, moving in, there are 3 buttons underneath the visor. There's 1 red button and 2 gray buttons that are up in here. And there's a little dial on the LP7. That dial is missing, but what they put in the hole of the dial is a round Greblie. And I think that is it. I think we've covered everything we don't know, and we've covered everything we do know. But that is the Electro Binoculars from Empire Strikes Back. Now, Empire Strikes Back is obviously, especially my generation, it's our favorite movie. Thank you for joining us, and come back and join us again when we pull out another prop, tear it down, and see what it's made of.